Welcome to the Confident Retirement Podcast. How confident are you when it comes to life's biggest money decisions? What is real financial peace and how can you get it? Kris Flammang and Mark Peachy are the founders of LPF Advisors in Sarasota, Florida. They bring together the brightest minds to show you how to have a more confident financial future. They empower listeners with common sense concepts and financial wisdom. And now, here are your hosts, LPF Advisors. Hey, I want to welcome everybody back to the Confident Retirement Podcast brought to you by LPF Advisors. I'm your host, Kris Flammang. Joining me, my co-host and resident CFP, Collin Habig, who will be helping us to break everything down that we're going to go over today. He's going to be doing most of the talking, which is good. Today, we're diving into a concept that's critical for anyone planning for retirement, the Roth conversion strategy. So you'll want to stick around because this tactic is a game changer. It can be a game changer when it comes to addressing taxes in retirement and also for legacy purposes. First, I want to go through our disclaimer. The information we're providing is our opinion, not necessarily that of our firm or the platform. We provide general information only on the podcast and not any customized investment advice. Nothing should be construed as financial, tax, or otherwise. You should consult with your own professionals about your own individual situation. Okay, so Collin, we're calling this the Roth IRA Conversions 101. We're here in Florida. It's the dead of winter. We've had freezing temperatures all weeks, and we need something that will defrost the situation. Let's talk about Roth IRA conversion. So let's start with the basics. First, what is a Roth conversion?
You got it. So a Roth conversion is when you move money from a traditional IRA or 401k, which is a tax deferred account, into a Roth IRA. So when you do this, you pay taxes on the money that you convert now, but that money grows tax-free in the Roth and can be taken out or withdrawn in retirement tax-free as well.
Okay, and we'll dive into some of the details on this. So how do the taxes work on Roth conversions? You brought that up. So let's go through that for people.
Yeah, no, that's a great question. So the amount that you convert is added to your taxable income for that year, which means it could push you into a higher tax bracket. I mean, we try to contain that, but for instance, if you're in the 22% tax bracket and you convert too much, some of that might spill over and get taxed at 24%. So that's why it's important to have a plan in place and carefully and make small strategic conversions rather than just doing it all at once. And you can do it over several years.
Okay. Now, maybe it would be helpful for people to understand why would anyone want to pay the taxes now instead of later, because that kind of sounds counterintuitive. And a lot of what we hear out there in the financial media is do everything you can from an investing standpoint so you don't have to pay taxes.
Right. Absolutely. I mean, you're going to pay the taxes either now or down the road, depending on what instrument you're in, but it may seem redundant or counterintuitive, but there's good reasons around it. If you think your tax rate will be higher in the future, whether it's because of, rising tax rates, increased income, a Roth conversion lets you lock in those rates at today's rates. Plus, the Roth IRAs don't have the required minimum distributions, which gives you more flexibility with your income in retirement. So it definitely helps us a ton.
Okay, so and what you're referring to there is that age 73, if you have an IRA or a qualified plan, 401k, you must start withdrawals at 73. The Roth, that doesn't apply. And also, if that person passes away and they have a spousal beneficiary, that passes on to them, which can be very, very helpful from a legacy standpoint. So are there specific situations where the Roth conversion makes a lot of sense?
Absolutely. So especially in lower income years, it will be very imperative to use it. Or, maybe you just retired or you're between jobs or you had a big deduction like a business loss. Those would be great times to use this opportunity. Another scenario would be if you expect to have higher income in retirement. So by converting when your tax rate is low, it could save you a significant amount over the long term. But overall, with the Roth conversions, timing is everything.
Yeah, and Collin and I and the whole team, we have several clients where we're looking at this on an annual basis. What was your income? Is this, and let's look at the brackets. How close are you to the next one? Is this an ideal situation? Maybe we should be converting some money over to the Roth because it's opportunistic to do that now based on their overall tax situation. Okay, so we've talked about a bunch of positives. Are there any possible downsides to the Roth conversions?
Because there's always upsides and downsides. But yes,
I only want upsides.
they're all worth considering. So the biggest downside would be an upfront tax bill. So if you don't have the cash on hand to pay the taxes, it could derail your plan, either if you have to take more money out of retirement accounts or from your emergency fund, which we didn't plan for previously. Yeah. But converting too much in 1 year can also lead to unexpected consequences like Medicare premium, or losing out on certain tax credits. So, I mean, if you're close to needing the money, the 5-year rule for Roth conversions could also be a hurdle, just to keep that in mind.
Okay, and we'll talk about that next. The key thing that Collin said there that I really want to hammer is if you don't have the money in a non-qualified, a non-retirement account in order to pay that upfront tax bill, it really negates the strength of the strategy. So you really want to have that money set aside or available to pay that tax bill when you do a Roth conversion. You don't want to be deducting or having to take that out of the money you convert, because like Collin said, it really defeats the purpose. It's not as powerful. So what is this 5-year rule you just mentioned that people need to be aware of?
The magic 5. So the 5-year rule, it surrounds the Roth conversions, and it has a 5-year holding period before you can take out penalty-free withdrawals of the converted amount, even if you're over 59 and a half. So if you're younger than that, and you might need the money soon, that rule could catch you off guard. So it's important to know, hey, if I convert this money, I have 5 years until I can touch it.
Okay, and also to clarify, the money you already had in the Roth or that you put in as after-tax contributions that had been there at least 5 years, that money, not the earnings on it, but that money doesn't apply to this. It's those parts that you convert that we're talking about. So one thing that people might be wondering about is, I might want to do this, but how would I determine how much to convert over to a Roth?
So it all depends on your specific tax situation, but a common strategy that we see is to convert just enough to stay within your tax bracket. For example, if you're in the 22% tax bracket that ends at 206,000 of income, you might convert up to that 206,000 and just be wary of possibly going over. Tax projections and working with a financial planner can also help us fine tune this. We work with our our clients' accountants and CPAs on this, just to make sure that we're staying within those thresholds.
Okay. And are there common mistakes that people make with Roth conversions? I can see where not paying attention to that 5-year rule could be an issue. Are there other mistakes that people could make?
Yeah, so it's similar to what we were saying before, where you might have unexpected consequences like Medicare premiums or a higher tax bill. But another is forgetting to account for state income taxes. Luckily, here in Florida, we don't have to worry about it. But in states like where I'm from, originally Massachusetts, you may be paying tax on 5% or whatever it is. So that could be a significant amount depending on how much you're converting. Some people forget to plan for how they're going to pay that tax bill, similar to what you were just saying, which can lead to dipping into retirement accounts and reducing the overall long-term benefits of the conversions.
Okay. So obviously having some kind of a plan or schedule and then reviewing that on an annual basis would be really important. Okay. So are there certain situations, types of tax situations or clients that Roth conversions may be better for?
Yeah, that's especially for those with a longer time horizon. So, right before retirement or long time horizon before retirement, as they have more years to let the money grow tax-free. They're also a great fit for people in the lower tax brackets now than they intend to be in the future. So, and looking for those that want to leave a tax-free legacy to their heirs, Roth accounts can be an excellent tool for this because it's all, it gets all past tax-free. So for example, if a self-employed professional or a doctor in a private practice might consider conversions during years of lower income, such as when transitioning out of their business.
Yep. Okay. And from a legacy standpoint, we don't have time to go over this in depth today, but there's different rules for spousal beneficiaries on a Roth than there is for non-spouse beneficiaries in terms of how long they can leave the money there from a legacy standpoint. We might cover that in a future topic, but that's something we could go through with clients if they had questions about that. So I have one final question. Do you have a top tip for anyone that might be considering doing Roth conversions?
Start with a plan. I mean, that's the biggest thing. So don't rush into a conversion because it sounds cool and we're talking about it, without understanding the actual tax implications, it could derail your financial plan. So we just have to be careful, but we have to remember it doesn't have to be all or nothing. We can do partial conversions over time and just make sure you're working with a professional to model out these different scenarios and pick an approach that fits you and your family's goals.
All right. Thanks, Collin. There we have it. Roth Conversions 101. As we've determined, it could be a pretty powerful tool in your financial kit, but they're not one size fits all, as Collin mentioned. It's about timing, of having a strategy and making sure that the numbers work for your unique situation. If any of our listeners have more questions about this or other financial topics, you can feel free to reach out to us by going to our website, lpf.LarryPaulFrankAdvisors.com. You can email us using info@lpfadvisors.com. Be sure to subscribe and share this episode if you found it helpful. We appreciate you tuning in to the Confident Retirement Podcast. We will see you next time. Until then, take care and be well. Thanks, Collin.
Hey, Kris, appreciate it.
You've been listening to the Confident Retirement Podcast with Kris and Mark from LPF Advisors. For more information on them and retiring confidently, please visit lpfadvisors.com. If your ears are pleased and your mind is now at ease, do share the program with your friends and subscribe wherever podcasts are found.